What's up, guys? Welcome to the Peer Review Podcast. My name is Kaleb Davis.
And my name is Brett, and we have some notes. But first, we got something to share with y'all.
Yeah, so some breaking news. As of yesterday, September 26th, Derrick Rose just retired from the NBA after playing 16 seasons. And it's a bittersweet situation for a lot of people. He was the youngest MVP and one of the most explosive point guards to ever play the game. And it's kind of a joke with a lot of me and my roommates and friends here on campus because I have a lot of friends that are Bulls fans and Derrick Rose fans specifically. And we get into it a lot. We go back and forth. And I troll them all the time about, oh, he's not good, yada, yada, yada. But I have a lot of respect for him. And he played for the Pistons. I didn't get to see him much while he was there, like during his stint. A lot of injuries, which kind of tells the story of his entire career post winning the MVP. But yeah, it's always unfortunate when a great player retires like that. And I just like to say, me personally, when I was a bit younger, I had the pleasure of watching him with those Jimmy Butler teams and Powell and watching them go against the Cavs. And I don't know if it was the semi-conference finals, the Eastern Conference finals, but a lot of great battles. And yeah, just a great player stepping away from the game.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with everything you said. And I know how much he meant to everybody from the city of Chicago, especially being drafted and playing there for the majority of his career. So it's really great to see what he's done for the city since then too. And also, he was, when Rookie of the Year, All NBA first team, like during like his third year in the league. And again, like you said, one of the youngest MVPs ever. And I just remember watching some of those teams with like Luol Deng, Kyle Korver, former Depoy, Joakim Noah, all those guys, and just like him leading the way. And that like I always like see that like I forgot. I think it was like I don't know. I forgot what game it was, but it was like he shot like some crazy like leaner three, like fading out of bounds for like a
Banked it
game
in.
winner, and like everybody's like picking him up, and he did like that like kind of like that like Cole like walk off face. Like
Mm-hmm.
low key, like when Stephon Diggs did that, like it reminded me of like Derrick Rose when he did that first. I know it's like a different sport, but like it had that same energy, and I always thought that was like a very cool playoff moment.
And I kind of thought that he would take like I think it was Paul Pierce, how he signed like that one day with the Celtics right before he retired. I didn't know if he'd do something like that. I kind of figured he would retire though after the Grizzlies waived him, just because he is getting older and he didn't play a lot last year because of injury, and it's just like it kind of hit the end of the road, which was to be expected. I don't think it was as big of a shock. I think it was a shocker as it pertains to when it happened, but yeah, sad
Yeah,
to see him
I
go.
thought the Bulls would have re-signed him, like you said, to like a 1 day contract or something. But
Yeah, just so he could retire there, but guess not. Maybe that's not what he wanted. Guess we'll never know. But yeah, kind of moving forward. Today we have three topics for you guys. Today we're covering our Detroit special, so we're going to be covering our Lions games, Michigan State, and the U of M. And then specifically, it's the Lions versus the Cardinals, Michigan State versus Boston College, and then Michigan versus USC. So we'll kind of dive into these games and give a breakdown of our thoughts, the highlights, lowlights, and just our overall analysis of these games. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get us started with the Lions versus Cardinals. This game resulted in a 2013 Lions W. And I would just say this game gave me a lot of faith for the Lions moving forward. They bounced back from our rough loss last week. And the one thing I want to start off by saying with this game was they came out with that smash mouth offense approach. We finally decided to run the ball. Last game, I think we let Goff throw about 55, 56,
yeah, 55
56
times.
times.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that just with the way our team is built and set up, that just should never happen. And I think we kind of understood that, and we kind of used this game to kind of sort of rectify that. But yeah, our defense was also great in this game. We limited them to very few possessions. Like we were stopping the ball, we were getting at it, and I was just happy to say. And just as a little synopsis of how the game went, in the first quarter, we came out swinging. We scored on our early in the first on our one of our first drives, and we just were consistently getting the ball down the field, running the ball, and getting multiple first down, getting multiple possessions. And I want to give a little bit of a shout out to David Montgomery. He logged 105 rushing yards on 23 carries. And then Jahmyr Gibbs, he had 83 yards on 18 carries. And it's just nice when you have that two-headed monster approach going where they can spill for each other. They're both providing a lot for the team, providing energy, momentum, a bunch of big momentum runs. And then yeah, down the line moving forward, St. Brown was pretty good. Stafford, I'm not Stafford, excuse me. Goff hit him on a bunch of flat routes. And he was just making plays where he could. And then we kind of touched on this last week. Laporta, he had 2 big possessions this game, but he only had 2 possessions this game. So I still don't know what's going on with. They're not finding a way to ingratiate him into the offense this season. I don't really know what that's about. And I've been starting to see people talk about it a little bit more on Twitter. And yeah, I'm starting to raise an eyebrow a little bit, but I guess we'll continue to monitor that as the season progresses. And then onto the defensive end, Hutch cooled off a bit from his last week's performance with 4.5 sacks. He had 1 in this game, but our defense was just amazing. Like I can't say it enough. Late in the second or the middle of the third, I'm forgetting the time placement, but we got a huge pick after the Cardinals like marched all the way down the field, and we got it in the end zone, and it kind of just it was like
Jake,
a
shout out Jake Kerr, man, best ball hawk
yeah,
safety in the
it
league.
it lit a fire under us because like we were kind of sluggish. I think it was the beginning of the third, but
Mm-hmm.
we were kind of sluggish, and I just think it lit a fire under the team. And from there, we were off to the races. We weren't giving up multiple firsts. And one stat that kind of shows this is the Cardinals were 1-9 on third down conversions. If that tells you anything about how the game was going for them, breaking up passes and defending against the run. And I'd say the biggest thing is just playing with energy. I saw a lot of that this game. Guys were out there excited, jumping around, and you just felt like they wanted to be there. The one critique I had from this game was our issues with containing the QB. Kyler Murray was making plays, running the ball, and using his feet, and we kind of weren't 100% prepared for that. But that's kind of where I was on the Lions game. I was happy with the dub, and I'm happy looking forward to next week. Well, this upcoming game on Monday.
Yeah, same. Basically going off of that, I was happy to see St. Brown to be more integrated into the offense this week. I feel like him and Jared Goff are finally on the same page. But for some reason, like it was like Jared Goff with some of these like long, hot, and cold streaks. For some reason, I've noticed during like the first half, he was like 100% in all of his passes for like the first like probably like 12 or 13 attempts. And we basically scored like 20 unanswered points, and then we just went cold for the entire second half and didn't score at all, which is a little bit alarming. Because I mean, those are some of the same issues that we saw at the end of last season, where people basically weren't able to we weren't able to close off games, and we kind of like lose momentum like at the end of the half. And also, it was interesting to see that Jameson Williams wasn't really targeted this game. He only had like 1 reception for 9 yards. But again, when you have a lot of weapons on offense, it's hard for everybody to eat at the same time. So it's like it's a give and take. But yeah, similar to you, my only issue is whether or not we're going to be able to contain mobile QBs going forward, especially when we had to play the Seahawks next week. And Smith is getting older, but he's still like pretty elusive in the pocket, and he likes to run a lot, especially against our defense. And that's kind of why we lost when we played them last year, and that was pretty frustrating. I don't think we beat the Seahawks in like it's been a minute, probably like 5 or 6 years. So hopefully that streak can end this upcoming Monday night. But yeah, like I was happy to see Jared Goff play better than his first 2 games, though. So that was good. That was good for me. And also, like you said, defense stepping up, making plays. Terrion Arnold looks good. I think he's dealing with a little small injury, but I think he's supposed to be good to go this week. So we'll see.
Yeah, as of what I saw, yeah.
Yeah, we lost Davenport for a minute and Melifonwu, I think, though, which is kind of disappointing to see. Because I know we had signed Davenport in hopes that he could help Hutch on the defensive line, but again, sadly, he's just got the injury bug. So I don't know how helpful he'll be for the rest of the season. And James Houston, a guy that we had some questions about coming into the season and whether or not he'd make an impact in the pass rushing game, hasn't really been getting much playing time at all that I've noticed. So I don't know if he hasn't been showing the good skill in the bend that he had last year, getting around the edge rushers. I mean the protection on the edge to get sacks and stuff like that. I don't know if he hasn't been showing that in practice, so I don't feel comfortable putting him out in the game. I know he wasn't really very good against the run or against like contain on the outside runs last year, so that could be why if they think that like a team is like a very strong running attack, they don't want to play him because he's kind of undersized at that like outside linebacker position. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's good that Hutch is playing like at like a DPOY level, but I would like more depth to see more depth there. I think DJ Reader has helped a lot too, though, in the middle, clogging up the middle with taking double teams for him, which is good as long as he stays healthy too. But yeah, going forward, I think this is the Lions team that we expected to see come alive a little bit more. So, for the third game of the season, I think they're doing pretty well, and hopefully they keep the momentum going.
Definitely agree. Moving forward, we have the MSU playing Boston College, and this game was a little bit disappointing. Spoiler: Michigan had a big win in the last few minutes of the game, well, last few seconds of the game, and I kind of was hoping for that for Michigan State during this game, but it did not turn out as such. This game ended with a 19-23 score, with Boston College taking the W, and I think the biggest, like, if you had to summarize this game in one story, it's just young teams and young QB play specifically. On Michigan State's front, I don't want to, like, I'm not going to put all the blame on Aiden, definitely, but a lot of his mistakes cost us this game. He had 3 picks during the game, and I'm kind of going to get into that a little bit moving forward, but I want to start off with the good stuff with him. I think he's continuing to impress. He's getting better week after week. And we keep mentioning the picks and the turnovers, and obviously that's something that you want him to work on. And I I can't really say he has worked on it much, because outside of the one game against, I'm blanking on the team, last week's team. I'm blanking
Prairie
right
View.
now. Yeah, Prairie View. Yeah. Outside of that, where he threw no picks, they were a obviously a lesser competition, so it's as expected. But yeah, he's averaging like almost 3 picks a game this year, and it's costing us. But back to the good stuff. He's been making all types of throws during the game. Like, you see it. He has an arm. He knows how he can make reads. He does a great job scrambling in the pocket and using those God-given talents he was given to create extra plays and just to extend possessions. And he's also pretty good at avoiding tackles. Like, he's very, very elusive. And like I said, I think there's a lot of room for growth for him, but he still looks good to me. And I think if you give him a year or two, I could definitely see this going somewhere. But yeah, to start us off, we marched up the field through in the first, and then he threw I'd say an 11 eyes pass for his first pick, which you can kind of chalk off. But for his second pick, it was just a bad throw. Like, he completely underthrew the guy, and I'm forgetting the receiver, but I feel like he has to work on his accuracy a bit, because a lot of his picks, they aren't bad reads per se. It's more so just the ball is not making it to the receiver. Like, it's either too long or too short. And that's a little bit of, I guess, chemistry, like working with the guys, like playing together, getting that feel together. Maybe he's misinterpreting like how fast they actually are, or maybe, I don't know, maybe they're not running. I don't know the full details behind it, but that's definitely been something that I've picked up on and that I think needs to be improved on. And then our defense. We were solid in this game up until the third and fourth quarter. Before then, we were doing a great job containing their quarterback. We were getting stops, but the biggest thing was we were missing so many tackles, and this is as to be expected in college football. Like, it happens, guys miss tackles, but there was so many. Like, it felt like so many possessions were going way longer just because we missed 3 or 4 tackles, and that was another thing that cost us the game. But I think the biggest thing was the start to the third quarter. We came out at halftime and we fumbled a kick return in our own end zone, which just was okay, whatever. So we got the ball back. Well, they got the ball like at our goal line, so that was unfortunate. And then we got the ball back, and then within, like, I think maybe the fifth. I'm thinking like it was like the 5th possession of that drive. Like, he threw a pick, so it's like, okay, so we come out, we fumble, and then we throw a pick, and then right off of that pick, we gave up a touchdown. So it's just like, what are we doing? Like, we shot ourselves in the foot because we had a pretty good lead and we were looking good. We had the ball coming out of halftime, and we kind of screwed the game from there from ourselves. And there was one more play later in the game, where he had a guy. Well, it was in the fourth. It had another receiver wide open in the end zone. Well, wide open, and it would have been a touchdown play, and it was just a bad throw. So another thing on that accuracy front. And then his last pick in the fourth quarter, I kind of just want to touch on that a little bit because I kind of mentioned this a little when we talked about Caleb Williams last week and how young QBs like you have to live to fight another day. So what I mean by that is if you have the ball on a second and you see a deep route and it's has a high likelihood of being picked off, like, and you're about to get hit in the pocket, like,
Just throw it
just throw the
away.
ball away. Like, yeah, just throw it
Yeah.
away. Give yourself another possession. Don't just throw it up there, for God knows who to get the ball because that's what happened. He just threw it up and it was a pick and that was the game when you could have thrown it out of bounds or tried to find someone like just an easier pass just to try and give yourself another possession because once you throw it away, like the game's over. But if you give yourself that extra third down and potentially like it just leave yourself room for error is kind of what I would preach to younger quarterbacks. But yeah, like I mentioned, these are the growing pains when it comes to a young team, new coach, young coach. And yeah, guys just they have to get that feel and experience under them.
Yeah, well, I mean, if it makes you feel any better, Boston College seems to be a pretty formidable team this year. I mean, they only lost to Missouri, and it was by like less than a touchdown. And Missouri is the top 15 team this year too, and they've been playing pretty well, except against Vanderbilt. But I mean, those inner SEC rivalries are always weird. I don't know. I don't actually know if Vanderbilt's good or not this year, but I just thought they like barely beat them like in overtime. But yeah, I mean, it happens. Boston College is a good team. Um, I think we know Michigan State wasn't going to go undefeated this year. Same with Michigan, but I think they'll both still be pretty good and have winning records and hopefully go to a bowl game, maybe a tail end playoff spot. I don't know. We'll see how the rest of the season checks up.
Oh yeah. Moving forward, I'm gonna let you kind of kick this one off. We have Michigan State versus USC. This game, like I mentioned earlier, resulted in a Michigan W. The final score was 24-27. So yeah, I'll kind of hand it off to you.
Yeah. So this game was interesting because well, for a variety of reasons, right? Orgy finally got the start over Davis Warren, our junior QB. He originally was recruited as like a linebacker slash just like general athlete, and then he's been converted to a QB since then. Um, but the one thing that's been really interesting is like as they've been advertising this QB battle like over the summer, it seemed like they wanted somebody that could run this scheme that we had already been running for like the past 3 years with guys like JJ. And coming in, I think they thought Davis Warren or Tuttle could be that guy because of what they've shown in practice. But then, as we know, once we got to the game, that's where it matters if you can execute or not. And I think that they weren't really ready to be in this position. So when people are complaining about how he only threw for like 32 yards, like I don't really think that this scheme that we run currently is really built around Orgy's strengths, honestly. And I also just don't think that the receivers are really getting enough separation as is needed, especially for like a younger quarterback to feel comfortable making some of those throws. So hopefully going forward, they can get more chemistry. Um, and I see people on like Reddit that are like saying like, oh, they should just like be like a service academy and run the triple option or something like that, which in theory probably could work efficiently, but like you would like, and I don't think people understand how difficult it is to install an entire new scheme with
In the
like,
middle of the season.
like 40 new plays, teach the offensive linemen all of these new like, motions and like ways that they have to like misdirect in order to like sell like the triple option or whatever. Like that would take at least a minimum an entire offseason to install. And going forward, I thought Davis Warren was going to be starting QB. So obviously they didn't prepare for his skill set, and he's running an offense that isn't really suited for him. So with all those things, with that context being placed on the game, all things considered, I think that they did really well, and I'm proud of how hard they fought. Kaleb Mullings obviously has been amazing. He reminds me a lot of like Hassan Haskins, like when we had him 3 years ago. Just powerful runner. He averaged like 10 yards a carry. He had like a really extremely clutch breakaway touchdown for like 60 yards in the fourth quarter, where he like broke a tackle and like spun away from another dude. Um, and then Donovan Edwards, honestly, he had 141-yard touchdown, which is cool. But outside of that, if you took that out, he only had 33 yards on 13 carries, and just honestly very pedestrian. I think he got lucky that he broke that one. Um, And it's not because I think Donovan Edwards is a bad player or anything like that, but I think he really struggles with his vision running in between the gaps. And I don't think that our offensive coordinator, Kirk Campbell, is using him correctly. Again, I'm gonna keep saying this every single week until like this dude changes something, because I don't know what's going on with that. He never lines him up in the slot. He can actually throw the ball too. Like we've seen that in a couple of trick plays in the USC game. And honestly, I think he has like a stronger deep ball than any of our QBs do right now. So I wouldn't hate it if he came in for like a flea flicker and he like threw a pass or something like that, because at least like there's some variation in there, like maybe like once or twice a game. But yeah, all of our receivers have been very pedestrian. Our highest receiving uh our highest wide receiver performing wide receiver last week was Marlon Klein with one reception for 10 yards. Um, I mean, obviously we only passed the ball 12 times. So like, it's like, what does that say? Especially if nobody's even getting open on the times that we do try to pass. But yeah, it was a gritty win, and I really think Kaleb Mullings and the offensive line. I will say the offensive line has been getting a lot better. I think one thing I was complaining about like a couple of weeks ago is like the offensive line was looking very bad, even run blocking. But it seems like they found their strength in run blocking now. I think they just had to work on pass protection, and I think they'll be fine. But we've seen a lot of guys stepping up on defense too. Jair Hill made some clutch tackles. Zeke Berry, um, Will Johnson got that pick six. So even if our offense is struggling, our defense has always remained strong, and it's helping our offense score. And Will Johnson, I believe, after this game surpassed somebody for the most pick sixes in Michigan school history, which is pretty cool. So that guy's going to go top 10 in the NFL draft. And it's cool to see him play out probably his last season here at Michigan. But yeah, with all that being said, I mean, yeah, I can't complain too much. It's a great win, especially against a now Big Ten rivalry team. So, and it was our first time playing them since 2007. So I think we gave the Trojans a run for their money, and I'm excited to see, hopefully, if we can keep the momentum going moving forward against Minnesota tomorrow.
I had a question. I'm not sure. So Davis Warren, is he just completely benched right now, or what? Like, why? How did Orgy end up with the start? Was he just impressing, or?
Like a week ago, Coach Moore was literally just like, they asked him at a press conference, like, so who's gonna be starting QB next week? And he was like, we're gonna go with Alex Orgy. We just wanted like a different look, and we think that he gives our team like the best chance to win. Basically, is like what he said.
Oh,
So,
okay.
and honestly, I didn't hate it, because like, yeah, he only threw for 30 yards, but he didn't turn the ball over. He didn't fumble. He didn't botch any handoffs. He didn't throw any picks. And honestly, sadly to say, Davis Warren was. I mean, I like that he was trying to take risks and throwing the ball, but those like 2 or 3 interceptions a game that he was throwing will lose us the games. Like when you lose a turnover battle and you're a time of possession, control the clock, run the football kind of team, and you can't really not built to come from behind like that.
Yeah,
When
those
you
mistakes add
continuously
up.
turn the ball over, like it just puts you in a hole that you can't climb out of, and that's kind of what made us lose against Texas, in my opinion.
Fair enough. Yeah, I wasn't completely sure about that. And like you mentioned, I had a lot of the same uh I guess takeaways from this game as you. I didn't get to watch the entire game. I saw the first quarter and that last fourth quarter drive where you guys ended up scoring and winning the game. I went back and watched a bunch of highlights. But yeah, one of the big things that I had written down was like the 32 yards, that your 32 receiving yards. But yeah, I get it. You guys weren't throwing the ball a lot, but I don't know how sustainable running the ball like the entire, like how you
It's
guys, I
not,
don't know how sustainable that is moving forward.
but we might be able to
Especially
win like 7 or 8 games, and I think that's fine. I really think this year is just like it's kind of just like a wash, and we're kind of just like whatever until Jaden Davis is ready next year, to be honest. So
Mhm.
we'll see.
Fair enough. That is fair enough. But that's all we have for today, guys. So I'll let you kind of go ahead and uh hand things off, Brett.
Yeah. So everybody, thank you so much for tuning into the Peer Review podcast today. We are very excited to start bringing you guys a new schedule soon as well. So look out for a lot of our videos to come out closer to when they actually take place, because that was some feedback that we got. We want to make sure that we're catering to you all, and getting the news out to you all as soon as possible. So look out for that as well.
Yeah. Please make sure you guys share the pod with your friends and family, as well as following us on X at peerreview_pod and on TikTok at peer review podcast to stay up to date with our latest episodes and releases.
Absolutely. And again, we also personally monitor all of our accounts. We love to hear feedback. Thank you for leaving comments on our videos. We appreciate all of them. And yeah, continue to give us feedback. We're going to try to do our best to implement those things. Want us to cover any different topics that we haven't talked about yet or any other video ideas, let us know in the comments. And thank you all again. This is the Peer Review signing off.